precarious situation where a mentally incompetent sitting president with less than 65 days is attempting to start World War III potentially. I've spoken with people offline that in Washington, D.C. that say they don't quite understand what he's doing. To help me better understand this situation, I have retired Colonel John Mills. Colonel, thank you so much for joining me again today.
Oh, Stephen, thank you. Always an honor to be on your show.
So you're very aware of what's going on. From a military perspective, why would President Biden be authorizing the use of long-range missiles into Russia, potentially striking Moscow, St. Petersburg? My understanding is that they have hundreds or thousands of these. They've only fired off 6. But now they're being sent mines, other weapons. Europe is saying that they approve firing into Russia. What is your assessment of this situation?
Wow, Stephen, there are so many bad angles to this. It's kind of hard to pick where do we even start with this. Just from a strategic communications optic, well, let's even back up before that. Effective international relations always hinges upon clarity and resolve. Clarity and resolve. This administration is never clear and they have no resolve. So this is a problem right out of the gate. Tony Blinken, who is one of the 51 intel officers, who my feeling is he, Clapper, Brennan, and Hayden should be indicted on day one, January 20th, for their malfeasance. Blinken said the adults are going to be in the room. The adults are back. Well, I frankly haven't seen them. This is your typical Yale, Harvard, Belfer Center gibberish about how they delude themselves, about they're so sophisticated, everybody else is so stupid and just can't understand them. No, this is insanity. And I can't think of a historical precedent where an outgoing administration has thrown gas on a fire or a smoldering fire like this before a handover. This is crazy. And not a single party, Ukraine, Russia, they both said we're interested in talking now that they know that Trump is coming on board. Nobody was asking for this. I don't think even the Ukrainians were asking for this. But this was a horrible rollout. And let me walk through some of this. Now, there's 3 components to this. There's the ATACMS long-range missile, but we'll talk about what long-range means. There's the JASSM, much longer range missile, which we haven't really talked about. And then we got the situation of mines. Okay. And we're going to talk about each one of those. Now, when it comes to the ATACMS, okay, the situation is right now, Russia and Ukraine are posturing in advance of what they both expect are going to be negotiations. The closest historical precedence is essentially Korea. After Eisenhower won in November of 52, he said essentially his job one was to go to Korea and end the conflict, which he did. And once he was elected, both sides, all parties realized things were going to come to an end, and there was jostling at people died. My father-in-law was wounded twice in Korea, but there was a lot of but it was very tactical posturing over the lines of troops in advance of negotiations. We didn't start bombing China in in November, December of 52, waiting for the incoming Eisenhower administration. So this is it's unprecedented, it's unwise. And the articulation, and I also would put in the point, I don't think Biden was even involved in this. I mean, I don't think he's been seen since he wandered off into the jungle at the G20 in Brazil. And I say that semi tongue in cheek. I don't think he was part of this. I think you had this reeks of Jake Sullivan. Now, did they do it on purpose, or are they just grossly incompetent? A lot of people are yelling, "Hey, they're doing this on purpose. This is treasonous." Well, one, I go, geez, look up the legal definition of, look in the U.S. code under treason. Okay, yeah, ain't gonna fly. Are we gonna get them under RICO? Or you bet we're gonna get them under RICO. Okay, but let's just put this treason thing aside. Did they do it intentionally? Yeah, I'd say there's the Victoria Nuland aspect and sycophants that, hey, let's ratchet this up right before. But I think there's also a lot of gross incompetence. Listen, these clowns wouldn't know the difference between an ATACMS missile, a Trident D5 missile, or a 40 millimeter grenade launcher. They don't know the difference. They're incompetent. They're a bunch of Ivy League nerds that, they run the world by PowerPoint. They always think they're the smartest people in the room, but it's horribly rolled out. Now, if they had explained and articulated, remember, clarity and resolve, if they had explained to provide supporting fires for the Ukrainian forces that have roughly 22 Manhattan equivalents of Russian terrain inside the Kursk Oblast. And now we got 12,000 North Koreans on the battlefield. And we also appear to have Chinese on the battlefield too. Hasn't been talked about a whole lot. If they were to say, we're going to allow Ukraine to use U.S. weapons such as HIMARS to essentially hold off the Russians, North Koreans, and Chinese. Now, the Russians would have been angry, but I think the Russians would have understood what was going on. But that's not what happened. Instead, they announced, we're giving Ukraine permission to use long-range missiles into Russia. Well, hold on a second here. Which missiles? Which targets? What's going on here? Now, I mentioned the JASM missile, which we have given to Ukraine. The JASM is a much more advanced, much longer range missile. It's like a high-speed cruise missile, but it's stealth. It has to be air-dropped, air-launched from the F-16s, and which now they have the Ukrainian has 24. They're very old. They're very old F-16s from the Netherlands. But the Ukrainians have been very adept at essentially customizing and kitting out the weapons that they've been given. So their F-16s might be able to hold 2. They might be able to hold 4 of the JASMs. Well, are they going to start striking Moscow with that? Okay. Wow. Are they going to start striking some of the Soviet nuclear sites? And oh, by the way, there actually is a Russian nuclear site in kind of the far east end of the Kursk Oblast at Voronezh that has nuclear warheads. Are we giving the permission to fire on that nuclear compound? Hold on a second here. Again, what missiles, what targets? Well, they totally, let's say it was only to allow the Ukrainians supporting fires and covering fires to maintain their lines in advance of negotiations, which again, okay, I can potentially see that if it was properly announced and explained, but it wasn't. This is what causes wars, is when you say, because they always like to say, well, we're being just like Taiwan, we're going to use strategic ambiguity. Strategic ambiguity doesn't apply in a situation like this. And strategic ambiguity also implies you have massive overmatch of capabilities. That's why we were strategically ambiguous about Taiwan with China for so many years, because we had a massive overmatch of capabilities. So we could be ambiguous. Our overmatch doesn't exist anymore. And so it's very, very unclear. So we haven't been clear what missiles, what targets, what is the purpose. This is a horrible rollout, horribly explained. This can potentially ignite a much larger conflict.
Okay. Democrat pollster Nate Silver is calling for the 25th Amendment to be used to remove Biden for mental incompetence. I'm reading this morning, or today, excuse me, Representative Thomas Massie, Representative Keith Self, who served in the military for many, many years. They are planning to file articles of impeachment. They're saying, yes, there's less than 65 days, but Biden has potentially put 334 million American lives at risk trying to be a war hero and giving permission without Congress intervening to attack Russia. Your thoughts on him being removed, endangering the United States?
Well, it's been my position that we essentially have not had a president since January of 21. And the Democrats made an unlawful, unconstitutional change by shoving Biden out of the way and putting in, this was a coup. We've already seen a palace coup here. So, and if they didn't like Biden and they wanted to run Harris, fine, run the 25th Amendment. So I think it is highly dangerous. I would go forward with something like this because it just, at least if nothing else, it keeps the Jake Sullivan types at bay that say, this is a message to you. But I would also add upon that, I would say again, criminal indictments against Jake Sullivan and the national security team. Show us the documents where they briefed and Biden approved. I want to see those documents. Oh, they're top secret. No, they aren't. Forget it. It's stupid. Come on, everybody knows what's going on. They don't give us any of this that's classified silliness. No. So I would also follow up with we will conduct criminal indictments of Jake Sullivan and team. You got to put Jake the Snake on because that's who is running the White House right now. Who is running the White? It ain't Biden.
Yeah. I apologize. I listen to so many podcasts and videos and articles I read every day. I don't remember the person, but basically they said, this isn't as big of a deal as the conservative media is making out because these missiles are old. And the other person said, I don't think Putin cares how old the missiles are if they hit his people. He cares that America gave weapons and permission to hit Russians and kill Russians. Your thoughts on that? I don't think Putin cares.
Yeah, that's parsing and quibbling. And again, it goes back to effective articulation. If they had picked up the Molink phone at the Pentagon to call the Russians and explain to them what was going on, a lot of this brouhaha would not have happened. If they said, hey, to maintain the line of troops as they are, and because you're injecting 12,000 North Koreans and who knows how many Chinese, we're going to allow the Ukrainians to use ATACMS missiles within the Kursk Oblast to interdict Russian immediate targets that are moving toward the immediate line of contact. The Russians would have been angry and upset anyway, but they would have understood. I don't believe I'm pretty sure that never happened. It sure didn't happen in public, which is also important. Don't say, well, that's classified and giving operational detail. We can't let the public know. Are you kidding me? Everybody knows what's going on. Cut it out. Tell the people the truth. And this is where they just should have been clear with the Russians, both in private and in public. I don't think they definitely haven't done it in public. I doubt they've done it in private. We literally have a line in the Pentagon, the Molink line. They should have picked up and we should have got on it and explained what was going on. You know, this is just, again, I would really put the gauntlet down, said, and anybody on the national security team that was a part of this process, you will be indicted. You will be indicted, just like all the generals and admirals responsible for the debacle of the Afghan withdrawal. You will be investigated and indicted. So you need to put this down because, you know, a lot of people are going to, going the 25th Amendment and impeachment. A lot of people are going to scoff on and laugh at it. You personally named Jake Sullivan and some of the other, Mahir Bittar and some of the other advisors. Here's the list. We're going after you on day one. things will change radically quick, and it'll change real quick. And I guarantee you this will de-escalate real quick, because they're going to back off, because they know they have personal liability on this.
Okay. What do you make? I'm reading that now the United Kingdom and I believe Germany, but mostly the United Kingdom, they're now saying, well, maybe we should send more
Storm
shadow missiles, and also give our blessing for Zelensky to attack Russia with our weapons. Germany says there was a leaked document. Germany is starting to add people to this 800,000 soldier NATO group preparing to go to war with Russia. I just feel like Trump has been saying, we want to de-escalate, we want to meet in person, let's find an agreement that nobody is happy with, but that everyone agrees to. And yet now you have the Secretary of State and the Pentagon and high involved countries from NATO escalating this thing instead of de-escalating.
Well, I mean, I think the incoming administration should make some statements now on their feeling on this de-escalation of everything. The Brits can't be trusted in this situation. They have a history going back 200 years of just wanting to stick it to the Russians in some disingenuous way. They just have it. This is something we love. The Brits, yes, they're our closest allies, but they just love sticking it to the Russians, and we gotta cut this silliness out. And they got to get that out of their DNA. It doesn't matter if it's the Tories or the Labor Party. They just love this great game, which actually was the term back in the 1800s, where they were constantly pulling the wool over the Russians' eyes one way or another around the world. So we got to stick it to the UK and say, look, if you're going to be our closest allies, you guys are going to cut this out and stop it. Now, the Germans, I'm unclear. I don't think they have long-range weapons to give. My understanding is the French, and I don't mean this to be a cheap shot at the French, but the French have actually, I think, rescinded their permission to use their long-range. I'm not going to get into any untoward comments making fun of the French again, but I think they've actually reversed course on their decision. This is just, it's bad policy. It's bad everything. It makes no sense. And again, I think you want to cut this out quick. You name names on who's going to be indicted on January 20th. I want to see all the White House decision documents on this, all the summary of conclusions, which is what you write up after all these meetings. Hey, I've been on the NSC. I've been to these meetings. Okay, I want to see everything. Who decided what?
Okay, this is exactly why I wanted to bring you on, because of that personal experience. Last night, I saw breaking news that I believe the Secretary of State's office put out a call telling the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, Ukraine, close down, Americans get out. We're anticipating a retaliatory strike. Do you think if Russia is going to do something, I would imagine they're going to hit the capital of Kiev or some part on the front line before they attack another NATO nation? Are they going to keep this to Ukraine, or does this thing expand?
Well, I just hope it doesn't go the tactical nuke route. This is the game that incompetents like Jake Sullivan, the Victoria Nuland crowd, they think this is a game. Okay, hey, this is not this. These are people's lives are at stake. Nations are at stake. Whole civilizations are at stake. This is not something to be playing a game about. And do we think a tactical nuke is going to be used? Well, hey, guess what? The Russians have been clear on this, that they reserve the right to use, if this escalation continues, they just might reach out. And I'm concerned about the Baltic countries. Are they going to take it out on the Baltic countries? Are they going to take it out on London? Are they going to take it out on, the Dutch? I don't know. So are they going to, pick a tiny country that they can demolish, like Latvia, Lithuania, or Estonia? I mean, this is high stakes, and we don't need a bunch of psycho globalists thinking they're gonna one last opportunity to make things a mess before they leave. Hey, we're gonna make it very clear. We need to come out with names of who we're going to indict on day one, in addition to the Blinken, Hayden, Comey, and Clapper.
Okay. My my worry, obviously, is just expansion, because I've done 1,500 videos on Trump. He has been crystal clear. You talk about clarity, right? Crystal clear. I want this to end. I want the killing to end. Nuclear weapons is the most dangerous thing to humanity. And he's trying to wind it down. He had a 2-hour meeting with Biden. He's spoken with Putin. He's spoken with Zelensky. Is this to undermine him as he's coming in? Is this to create a huge garbage mess for him to have to deal with in his first 100 days? Is this revenge, preemptive revenge? I'm trying to understand, because Trump has been so clear and they've been so muddy.
I think there's that aspect to it also. I think, again, there is this, we have to purge the United States government of this mentality, which is between the Department of Government Efficiencies, between eliminating wokeness, just this gross incompetence. What in the world are Jake Sullivan's credentials when it comes to national security? Well, he lectured at Yale. And what else did he do? Oh, that's right. He ran the 2016 Russia hoax. And what else did he do? Nothing. Guy's totally incompetent, over his head, and just mischievous. He's a proven track record of being evil. So I'd say he's indictable. But this mentality, this Belfer Center at Harvard, all these think tanks, Center for Strategic International Studies, Atlantic Council. Now, there's some good folks. I know folks at both those places. There's some good folks, but they have a headlock on all these policy venues and all this influence on the U.S. government. They, in the purge of wokeness, we're going to totally reset everything that provides input to the national security community. And everybody goes, well, you're not picking the most qualified people. We've been picking the most qualified people for a lot of years. And look, things have only gotten far worse, far more dangerous. So how about we stop picking these most qualified people? Because this is like having the UN and the Gaza Strip. The UN has managed the Gaza Strip for over 50 years, and it's worse than ever. It's a god awful mess. It's the whole reason we had October 7th is because of the UN. So I don't buy this argument of we got to pick the most qualified people. The most qualified people are usually the ones who are milking the situation and perpetuating the chaos and the suffering. So as we turn things upside down and reset and right-size government, all these experts gone.
You're regularly called in to consult with Congress. You've written a book, War on the Deep State. What is your opinion of the cabinet that Trump has put together so far? It seems like most Republicans like what he's doing, and the mainstream media, the Democrats and the deep state, they seem to demonize every single name that he's put forward. But what are your thoughts on these initial maybe 20 names that he's put out there?
An absolutely A+++ superstar dream team. We are going to get this government correct and under control and back within constitutional boundaries. I couldn't care less what they have to say, the legacy media, about any one of these personalities. The experts have done nothing but bring us to the brink of, and I would say we're actually already in World War III. Everything is worse. Everybody's standard of living is going down. Every metric of society is worse because of these experts. So I think this is great. Bring in this team, and we're going to get things right, and we're going to get things correct. I don't want to hear any of this lecturing on, We need somebody more qualified. That's funny. That's what we've done for ever since the end of World War II. It's gotten worse. How about we not do that? And how about we not pick the experts? So I'm totally great. And I loved it. I think it was Sonny hosting of The View started mouthing off about Matt Gaetz, and whoever, I can't remember the name of the senior producer, the executive producer of The View. Somebody must have faxed, excuse me, my age. Somebody must have texted him. I have never seen such an unbelievable, within seconds, turnaround, and essentially the reading of a required legal statement. I have never seen that ever. So somebody literally had the executive producer's text on speed dial and immediately served him a show cause notice to tell her to shut up or else she's going to get sued, because she was making false statements, and she's a former federal prosecutor. She should know better, but obviously she doesn't. So, Sonny Hostin mouthing off, I couldn't care less. She's an absolute imbecile, and just showed, this will go down in history, the fastest eating of crow ever.
It was 3 minutes, and she had the most pissed off face you've ever seen. Whoopi Goldberg is like, do you want to read this legal note? And she's like, yes, I do. Matt Gaetz' investigation led to nothing. Oh, it was like, yeah, like you say, just the fastest karma, the fastest retribution you've ever seen. And she just like I was waiting for fire to burst out of her eyeballs. She was so angry about having to make this apology. I thought it was great. I think most of the picks that Trump has put forward, they're people that are going to be loyal to making America great again. And I think that's why there's so much pushback. Is you've got people afraid that their programs are going to be cut. You've got people afraid that their secrets are going to be spilled. You've got people that, that they have financial incentive, career incentive to keep stuff buried and status quo. And like you say, he's going to flip Washington, D.C. on its head and shake all the crap out. And then we're going to have a reset. I think it's going to be amazing. Things are going to be faster, better, more affordable. Everything is going to be better. We have created a gargantuan government that does nothing but grow and grow and deliver less and less. We can't go on like this. This is the Byzantine Empire. We're either America or we're the Byzantine Empire. Which is it going to be? And I vote for America. And all my brothers and sisters, I love you in the military and career civil service. We need you. I'm all for professionals, but we expect absolute performance, absolute fidelity. And anybody who's worried, I say, don't worry about it at all. You're going to be treated exactly the same way as you treated everybody else. So what are you worried about? So don't worry about it. So I'm all for a professional civil service corps. I'm all for well-paid civil servants, absolute performance, absolute fidelity. All this wokeness, all this palace intrigue, this is evil drag coefficient, and it's over. It's over. Get with the program or get out. Oh, that's going to be awesome. Well, Colonel, I appreciate you coming on last minute to help me go over the Biden, Putin, Russia, Ukraine situation. If people want to follow you online, where can I point them towards so that they can keep getting good information from you? Well, thank you so much, Stephen. It's Colonel Rhett John, Colonel R.E.T. John 2 on X, Colonel Rhett John 2 on X, Colonel Rhett John, Colonel R.E.T. John on Substack, Getter, and Truth. Okay. I'll put direct links down below so people can find that easily. Thank you so much for your service to our country, continuing to consult with DC to make good decisions. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Steve.